Hi, hello, welcome to English Inside. Today's video is gonna be about reported speech. Let's commence. We use reported speech when someone mentions something that was mentioned by someone else, and the statement may continue be valid or not. For example, in direct speech we say, "I want to buy this phone now, Jane told me." And in reported speech we say, "Jane told me that she wanted to buy that phone then." This is a quote. A quote contains the actual words that were mentioned by someone, and we recognize it thanks to the quotation marks. In order to transform a sentence into reported speech, or in order to report a sentence making use of reported speech, it is important to consider the following set of changes. Tenses. The difference between the verbs say, tell, come, and go. Pronouns. The references of time and place. The imperatives in affirmative and negative. Questions and reporting verbs. Let's commence with tenses. For example, in direct speech we say, "I want to buy this phone now, Jane told me." And in reported speech we say, "Jane told me that she wanted to buy that phone then." In this case, the verb want is reported in simple past, wanted, so as to indicate that the action has already happened. It belongs to the past. This change in reported speech follows the logic of moving the tenses one tense back. Let's analyze the following chart, which contains the different tenses and the way we transform them into reported speech. An idea in present simple in direct speech is reported in simple past. When we use present simple with the verb to be, am, is, are, we have to report it with was or were. Ideas in present continuous are reported in past continuous. Present perfect simple is reported in past perfect simple. Present perfect continuous is reported in past perfect continuous. Past simple is reported in past perfect simple. Past continuous is reported in past perfect continuous. Past perfect simple is reported in past perfect simple. Notice that there is no change in the tense, because, theoretically speaking, there is not a tense before past perfect simple. Past perfect continuous is reported as past perfect continuous. It is to say, we do not change the tense. The expression am, is, are going to is reported with was or were going to. The expression used to is reported exactly the same without any change. This change in reported speech follows the logic of moving the tenses one tense back. In the case of the word will, it is reported with the word would. The word can is reported with the word could. The word must is reported with the word had to. The word have to is reported with the word had to as well. The word may is reported with the word might. The word would is reported with the same word would. There is no change in this case. The word might is reported with the same word might. There is no change in this other case. The same happens with the word could. With the word shall, we reported with the word would. The expression should or ought to is reported exactly the same with the word should or ought to, and there is no change in tense in this case. Let's analyze the following case. In direct speech, we say, Ottawa is the capital of Canada, the teacher told us. In reported speech, we say, the teacher told us that Ottawa is the capital of Canada. In this case, the verb remains the same. There is no need to change the tense if the statement is still valid. It is to say, Ottawa is still the capital of Canada. Now let's check this other case. In direct speech, we say, if I had more money, I would buy a new phone, Katie told me. This is a second conditional. In reported speech, we say, Carly told me that if she had more money, she would buy a new phone. In this case, the tense do not change in either of the clauses. There is no need to change the tense in the case of second and third conditional. Now, let's analyze the difference between the verbs say and tell and the verbs come and go. Let's check it. Say and tell. For example, this is a command, an imperative sentence. Tell me the time. The expected answer will be, it is 3:20. Now let's check the same example but with the verb say. Say me the time. In this particular case, the imperative will suggest this kind of answer. Me the time. In other words, the verb tell will always need the object pronoun in reported speech. It is possible to express the same idea, but we have to comply with the following pattern. Say to me the time. And in this case, it expresses exactly the same request. Say to me the time. It is 3:20. Let's check one more example. In direct speech, we say, I like pizza, she told me. In reported speech, we say, she told me that she liked pizza. We can express the same idea with the verb say like this. I like pizza, she said to me. She said to me that she liked pizza. It is also possible to omit the object in both cases. For example, I like pizza, she said. She said that she liked pizza. In this case, it is not specified to whom she said that. Come versus go. In direct speech, we can say, come home early, that told me. In reported speech, we say, that told me to go home early. The verb come is reported with the verb go if you are not at home. It is to say, if you are not in the same place. But the verb come do not change if you are at home. It is to say, if you are in the same place. Now, let's talk about pronouns. In direct speech, we say, I want to buy this phone now, Jane told me. The pronoun I refers to Jane. In reported speech, we say, Jane told me that she wanted to buy that phone then. It is to say, the pronoun I becomes or transforms into she so as to fulfill the purposes of the sentence. And the same happens with the word this, which transforms into the word that in reported speech. Let's check the chart of changes from direct speech to reported speech considering the pronouns. For example, the pronoun my will turn into his or her in reported speech. The word this will become that, the, or it accordingly. The word these will turn into those, the, they, or them, depending on the case. Now, let's check the references of time and place. In direct speech, we say, I want to buy this phone now, Jane told me. In reported speech, we say, Jane told me that she wanted to buy that phone then. We are using the word then so as to indicate that we are talking about a different moment in time. Let's check this chart of changes. In direct speech, we can say here, whereas in reported speech, we say there. The expression now or at the moment becomes then or at that moment. Tomorrow, we will report it as the next day or the following day. The word tonight will be reported as that night. The next day, month, week, or year will be reported as the following day, month, week, or year. Yesterday will be reported as the day before or the previous day. Last day, month, week, or year will be reported as the previous day, month, week, or year, or the day, the month, the week, the year before. The word ago will be reported as before or previously. Now, let's check imperatives in affirmative and negative. In direct speech, we say, clean your room, my mom told me. In reported speech, we commence with the reporting sentence. In this case, my mom told me. The next element is the word to in affirmative sentences. And then, we use the main verb in infinitive. Now let's check the case for the negative. In direct speech we say, don't play in the house, my dad told me. In reported speech, we commence with the reporting sentence. My dad told me. In negative, we say not to, and it is followed by the main verb in infinitive. In this case, play. Now, let's analyze questions in reported speech. There are two types of questions in reported speech: yes/no questions and content questions, or better known as WH questions. Let's commence with yes/no questions. Yes/no questions are questions that start or commence with an auxiliary. For example, the words can, do, will, may, have, be, should, or would. And of course, we can use all the variations can, could, can't, couldn't, do, does, did, don't, doesn't, didn't, will, won't, may, might, mightn't, have, haven't, had, hadn't, be, am, is, are, was, were, should, shouldn't, and would or wouldn't. The elements so as to report a yes-no question are the following. We commence with the reporting sentence, followed by the word if or whether, and the last or third element is the subject plus the verb in exactly that order. For example, a yes-no question in direct speech says, "Does she live in Canada? Tom asked me." In reported speech, the very first element we have to consider is the reporting sentence. In this case, Tom asked me, followed by the word if or whether, because we are talking about a yes-no question. We notice that because the question commences with an auxiliary. Therefore, what we write is exactly that, if or whether. And the last element, we use the subject followed by the verb. In this case, she, and the verb lived transform into simple past so as to fulfill the purposes of reported speech, and the rest of the sentence, in Canada. And the final sentence says, Tom asked me if she lived in Canada, or Tom asked me whether she lived in Canada. Content questions are questions that start or commence with a WH word. For example, what, when, where, why, who, whose, how, and which. A content question in reported speech possesses exactly the same three elements. The very first one is the reporting sentence. The second element is the actual WH word that we use in the question. And the last one is the same, subject plus the verb in exactly that order. Notice that we do not use a question mark, neither in yes-no questions nor content questions in reported speech. Let's check this example. In direct speech we say, "Where do you live? Tom asked me." In reported speech, the first element is the reporting sentence. In this case, Tom asked me. The second element is the WH word, exactly the same that we use in the direct speech, which in this case is the word where, and then the subject followed by the verb. In this case is the word you, which is making reference to me, and we use it in reported speech as the word I. The main verb, conjugated in simple past so as to fulfill the purposes of reported speech, and that's it. The final sentence says, "Don't ask me where I live." A careful reminder, we do not use question marks in reported speech questions. Last but not least, reporting verbs. It is possible to simplify a reporting sentence, provided that we know the different verb patterns. For example, in direct speech we say, "I didn't steal the money," Katie said. In reported speech, knowing the pattern, deny plus verb plus ing, we can say Katie denied stealing the money. The verb denied followed by a verb in ing. And that's it. Let's check a collection of verb patterns that we can use in reported speech. The very first collection commences with verb plus that. It is to say, whenever we use those verbs, the next expression commences with the expression that, followed by a subject and then a verb. Admit, complain, explain, mention, protest, realize, suggest, claim, deny, say, state, and agree. These verbs follow the pattern verb plus somebody plus that. Advise, tell, persuade, remind, and warn. These verbs follow the pattern verb plus somebody plus to infinitive. Ask, beg, command, order, tell, forbid, remind, warn, persuade, advise, allow, invite. These verbs follow the pattern verb plus to infinitive. Threaten, promise, offer, agree, claim, and refuse. These verbs follow the pattern verb plus ing. Deny, suggest, admit, recommend, and propose. These verbs follow the pattern verb plus preposition plus verb in ing. Apologize for, boast about, insist on, congratulate on, and speak of. These verbs follow the pattern verb plus somebody plus a preposition plus the verb in ing. In this case, accuse somebody of doing something, praise somebody for doing something, blame somebody for doing something, discourage somebody from doing something. The letters SB stand for somebody. It is to say, we use an object pronoun. For example, me, him, her, so on and so forth. These verbs follow the pattern verb plus noun. Deny, suggest, and tell. These verbs follow the pattern verb plus to somebody plus the word for plus the verb in ing. Apologize. Apologize to somebody for doing something. And finally, those verbs follow the pattern verb plus somebody plus a noun. Ask and tell. For example, ask me a question or tell me the answer. Ta-da! Please like this video, share, comment, subscribe, and of course, thanks for watching. Bye!